Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Adrienne. Hope you guys are doing good today. I'm gonna go ahead and get into this story time for today, which is about the day that I found out my father had passed away. This story goes back to the year 2016. As I do with all my story times, I'm gonna give you a little bit of backstory, some of which you already know if you've watched some of my other story times. My father, my birth father, his name was Raymond Hull. So growing up, I never really knew my father. I think I mentioned in my JW story time that my mom never really let me have a relationship with him. I know that he was writing letters at one point because I found some letters in my mom's room. At one point he was sending letters that I had to sign for. I heard a lot of stories from my mom about him, mostly all negative. She told me about an incident where he came home and found his wife like in bed with another woman, but nothing really of any substance, right? And nothing that deterred me from wanting to see him. Like I always wanted to see my dad. I reached out to him like around 18, 19, 20, that somewhere along there. We started writing each other because I had his address. So we started writing each other and then we exchanged phone numbers. And so we kind of just did the little back and forth, like we would write, then sometimes we would call. We made plans to meet up or whatever, kind of like taking it slow, you know, to try, I guess, trying to get to know each other. I was in North Carolina, he was in Baltimore. He would write me and tell me like, I don't know, just all kinds of things. I still have all his letters. Say things to me about like my mom, about my family. I knew that I had other brothers and sisters, but he was always like, you know, don't talk to them, don't worry about them. He would send me money from time to time. I remember him sending Gabriel a remote control Hummer truck. It was like a orangish yellowish Hummer truck. It was nice, you know. He was trying to like connect with us and things like that. He was doing whatever he was doing. I was, you know, in school full-time. The day that I found out that he had passed away, one of the kids brought me the phone. I think I might have told the kids to like put it on speakerphone or whatever, and put it on speakerphone, and unbeknownst to me, it was my dad's girlfriend at the time. She's like, Adrienne, this is Ronnie. I was just calling to let you know your daddy's dead. And I was just like, all three of us heard it. You know, the kids were looking at me, and I was just like, I think I was kind of like silent for a few seconds, like in shock, honestly. Obviously, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my God, my dad is dead. I'm never gonna be able to see him. Like that was my immediate thought. Was like, I'm never gonna be able to see him, like ever. And she started explaining what happened, and basically he had a heart attack. He like collapsed inside their house and never got back up. When my dad passed away, I was a student, a full-time student at ECU, working on my bachelor's degree, knee deep in classes and assignments and stuff. We had a group project that was going at the time. It was super stressful, but at the same time it was like, okay, this is my dad, of course I'm gonna go up there, you know, for the funeral and everything. I had a Buick LeSabre at the time, like a 2000 Buick LeSabre, and with the condition that the car was in, I knew that it wasn't gonna make it up there and back safely. So I ended up renting a car, and the kids and I drove up there. Before we left North Carolina, like almost within like 24 hours, I started getting phone calls from my long lost siblings. As much as I was excited, it was still like, okay, well, if y'all can call me now, how come y'all couldn't have called me before? You know, because I was always like, whenever I would write my dad or talk to him, I would always be like, hey, like what about my siblings? Like, can I get in touch with them? What's their name, numbers? And he would just always blow me off. Like, no, you don't need to know them. You don't need to get in touch with them. Don't worry about them. They're not good people. But he would never like be specific with me. And so all of a sudden he passes away, and all of a sudden I start getting, you know, all these phone calls and stuff. So I'm trying my best to like, you know, process all of it. Then I find out like, you know, oh, I've got a sister that's like working in DC. She's like into politics. Another one that like has her own cleaning business in Virginia. Actually, my siblings have like a ton of kids. Like some of them have 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever kids, and grandkids even. I think my oldest sibling is like 50 50 or 55, something like that. It seemed like every other day, like I was hearing from a different person, and then I was hearing all these stories. The crazy thing is, like, the girls at least, like, all of us look alike. Like, if you saw them, you'd be like, oh my God, yes, that's your sister, because y'all look so much alike. My sister Swanzetta and I, we start talking, and initially we kind of like hit it off, and we got to talking about politics, because of course, like I said, she was into politics, and she was like, what? Like, they don't get involved in politics. Like, how is that possible? I didn't realize it at the time, but my father did not have a will, and which was odd, of course, because prior to this whole thing happening, like in all the conversations that we have, and even the letters that I have that he wrote me, he was always saying like, oh, I'm gonna leave, you know, everything to you. I'm gonna leave Gabriel something. If anything happens to me, you know, I'm gonna have someone contact you, blah blah blah. He even went as far as to like tell me that he didn't want to, when he died, he didn't want to be buried in a military cemetery, because my dad was like ex-army. He said it like, oh, I don't want to be bunched up beside other people. And I never really gave it a second thought that he hadn't actually put that into writing. When he passed away, of course, we found out there was no will. Maybe my excitement got the best of me, I don't know, but we got around to, you know, talking and everything, and I'm like, oh my God, like I can't believe this. I can't believe that I have, you know, all these different siblings. I think there ended up being like 10 of us at the funeral. So as my sister and I are talking on the phone, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I was really excited. I was really probably overly excited. Just like, oh my God, I have sisters, I have brothers, you know, and I was like, well, all this time my dad was telling me like that not to get in contact with you all, that y'all were bad people, that some of y'all were drug addicts and stuff. And almost immediately, you know, after I said that, it was like, she took offense at me as if I said it, like not the fact that it was his words. And I don't know, you know, in hindsight, maybe I shouldn't have said it, but in all reality, like I honestly, even to this day, I'm like, I don't really get the whole them being upset with me. Before you know it, it ends up like spreading all around, of course. All of a sudden, all of these people are upset with me. I had messages on my phone from this sister. She was upset with me, and she was saying things like, oh, you think you're the only one that's in mourning for him. I was telling you what I had been told like all this time, and I was telling you that not to be mean or rude or whatever. I was saying it is like, oh my God, I can't believe that, you know, all those things that he said to me were not true, and y'all are doing, you know, pretty good. Like she had actually she was in politics, she has a NGO and like all this stuff, and I'm like, okay. She didn't see it that way, and I immediately became the enemy. When we checked into the hotel, when we got to Baltimore, and the kids and I checked into the hotel, and I had a message from her, and it was basically like, our father, oh correction, your father is going to be buried in a $300 Sean John suit. And I remember like, what in the world? Like, nobody said anything to me about us contributing or coming together to like contribute to anything. You know, I'd never done a funeral before. I didn't know what was involved. They did all of the arrangements and everything in Maryland, like on their end. Nobody contacted me and said, hey, do you want to help with this? Do you want to help with that? The only reason that I even knew what was going on is because of my dad's girlfriend. Like, she was the one who kept me informed of like, hey, the wake is going to be this day and time, like it's going to be at this place. In any case, you know, I had a little X on my forehead by the time I got there. The funeral in and of itself was just, it was kind of messy. It was in not a church, but like I guess a chapel, like at the funeral home. It was open casket, so I at least got to like see him, but it was strange seeing him in his casket, because I was like, oh my God, it doesn't even look like him. His body had been sitting for like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, maybe, from the time that he passed away to the time that he actually was buried. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the way he looked. I don't know. But I just remember thinking to myself, like when I saw him for the first time, I was like, wow, he doesn't look anything like his pictures at all. We get to the funeral home, And as soon as I walk in, you know, I walk in with the kids and I see this sister that I was talking about, Swanzetta, and I like walk up to the front of the chapel and reach out to like hug her, and she's like, no. And I was just like in shock, because I'm like, come on, we're sisters, right? But she didn't want anything to do with me. So, and I left it at that. I took the kids and we went and sat down. As the service started, you know, they like gave people a chance to like get up and talk or whatever. After a while, it got really repetitive, really, because it was like, okay, one person could have said XYZ and then that could have been it, because it turned into, instead of being like a remembrance about him and his life, it turned into, you know, well, daddy was never there for me and da-da-da-da. It was kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. We left the funeral home, and apparently there was like a limo. Like, some of them got together and there was like a limo, but it was like certain people that were able to ride into it. And I was just trying to like keep up with the funeral procession. Went to the grave site, which is in Owing Mills, Maryland, military funeral site. I think because it was raining, that's why they didn't do like the whole like salute with like the guns and everything. But one of my sisters, the oldest sister, ended up getting the flag. They drove to, I guess, the spot where he was buried, where he is buried at. And I didn't even realize what was going on. Like I said, it was raining. I didn't really see the casket go into the ground. When I saw the funeral car turn around, that's when I realized, like, oh, it's over. And that was it. I just turned my GPS on and got back to the hotel. I did find out later on that like a bunch of the siblings got together and like went out to eat and everything. And you know, I was just like, you know, whatever. At this point, I don't even care anymore. I made contact with my dad's girlfriend, and she wanted to give me some of his things. So I was like, okay. I took as much as I could. I'll show you this stuff in a minute. Came back down to North Carolina. I had to get back into the swing of things. I had to go back to school and everything. But the first chance I got, I had to end up going through the stuff. Y'all, my dad knew that I wanted to model. Like, when I was younger, I wanted to model. And I think some company that he was working for at the time went out of business, and they let him go in and like pick, you know, whatever he wanted. And so he had went in and got like all this like makeup and stuff, like makeup, lip gloss, lipstick, eyeliner, mascara, eyeshadow, all this kind of stuff, nail polish and everything. And he had this stuff for so long that some of it had like congealed. Like, the nail polish was no good. Some of the lipsticks were no good. Some of them I kept, actually. I wish I had taken pictures of it before I did so. He had like a knife set, a bunch of DVDs that were still unopened. And I'm seeing like all this Civil War stuff, and I'm like, what in the world? And yeah, I'm going through his stuff, and y'all, lo and behold, so I open a box and it has a Confederate flag right on top of it. And I was just like, what in the world is this? I was asking the girlfriend, I was like, look, I found a Confederate flag in some of daddy's stuff. Like, what's that about? And she didn't know. She's like, oh, I don't know. And I'm just, to this day, I have no idea. Like, I really don't know. Like, it's just a whole Confederate flag and all of these Civil War DVDs. I remember some conversation he had, or maybe it was a letter that he wrote me, and it was like, you know, be proud of your name. Like, don't let anybody tell you anything bad about you or your name or anything. You have a good name, or something like that, he was saying. And I think he's referring to like my last name, Hull, or our last name. But yeah, I just kind of went through and got rid of like as much as I could, like paper. Most of it was paper and packaging and everything. There were 2 photo albums that he had. You'll see in a second. He has a lot of Mason memorabilia, because come to find out, my daddy was a Mason. And not only that, he was like I think a master Mason is what they call it. I have a lot of his I I don't know what you call it, memorabilia maybe. But I have a lot of that stuff. All right, so this is some of my daddy's stuff. Actually this right here, and it's broken as you can see because the kids got into it like years and years ago. But this is like a little violin that my dad had given. He, in addition to like the makeup and stuff that he had for me, he gave the kids like little toys and stuff. And this is one of them that I did keep, even though it's like bent and broken and stuff, but it's a violin. It actually still works. It kind of plays intermittently, as you can see. But yeah, it's just something that I kept. This is a brush of his. Gabriel actually has one of his rings, and I don't have it up here, but I have a keychain. I'll show it to you in a minute, but it's a keychain thing with like the art on it for Raymond. This right here, I want to have this restored, because I'm not sure if it still works or not, but this is a camera. It's like an old-timey camera, and I actually have a picture of him when he was a child with this very same camera. Like he was, I think he had it like around his neck, but this is like the little case, and at one point it had a strap because in the picture he has it, like I said, around his neck, but this is like the little camera case, and then this is the camera itself. Isn't that cool? But yeah, that's his camera, and you see it's like rusting because it's on my bed now, but whatever, that's okay. This is, I want to say this is some of his Mason memorabilia. I don't know if it is, I don't know what it is. Comment down below if you know what that is. But then there's this right here. Let's see if I can open this with one hand. So this is like a little box. And I'm fairly certain that this has something to do with some little Masonic whatever, because there's like all these little pieces. There is, let me see, this comes out because there's some stuff that's in the bottom as well. Yeah, I don't know why. I think maybe the kids were like playing with this at one point, but this goes right there. So yeah, it has like almost all the pieces. We're missing that one and this one right here. I don't really know what this stuff is, to be honest with you. But comment down below if you do, if you know what it is, and tell me. There's like these little, I don't even know what to call them. Let me see if I can, yeah, it just says USCG on one side, and then the other side 1 gram 0.999 pure silver. So I don't know, and like I said, I don't know if this is real or what, but yeah, there's a better picture of it. 1 gram 0.999 pure silver. There was other Masonic stuff as well, but I didn't take it at the time. Like I had no clue what it was. It took me a while to even figure out that, you know, this was like Masonic stuff. This is a wallet. It doesn't have anything really in it but like cards and stuff, but this is, I guess this is where he used to work at. But that's my daddy. This is a folder. This is mine, really, just kind of information that I have gathered over the years, but I'll get back to that. This is photo album. So, and I'll just kind of like flip through this. It's like, I don't know, different people in there. Like that's my dad right there. I think that's one of my brothers or one of my siblings' moms, I guess. But yeah, just different people, various people, pictures of him, pictures of other people. I don't even know some of these people that are in here. There's some blank pages. There's like this, like there's one of his military pictures. This is actually on my Instagram. There's another one and it has Germany on it. So yeah, this is just like a bunch of people in here that I don't really know. This is a map of the cemetery. So this is where my dad's buried at, Garrison Forest Veteran Cemetery. Is a birth certificate. That's the death certificate. I even still have the funeral card from when we were there, because his funeral was at March Funeral Homes there in Baltimore. These are the letters that he wrote me. So yeah, I still Still have these. I'm thinking like I want to put them in like a binder, like a little, make like a little booklet or something out of them. So yeah, my dad did not, at the time of his death, he did not have an autopsy. And there was like a whole thing surrounding that because, you know, I was just questioning like, well, why didn't he get an autopsy? They just ruled it as like a natural death. I don't know, it's just a lot of craziness, but there was no autopsy done. And then by the time, you know, it got back to us family members, it was like some of us were like, well, there needs to be an autopsy done, that, you know, that should have been standard or whatever. It was like, oh, if you want an autopsy done now, it's gonna cost like, I want to say it was like $6,000 or something like that. So none of us had $6,000 laying around, so there was no autopsy done. So that's kind of like the great mystery. I started like trying to like go through and like search his history and all of that. This is a flag, actually. This was on a stick, and I think the kids ended up breaking it or something. Y'all, my kids were rough when they were younger. But I kept the flag anyway. This is probably like circa 1960 something. But yeah, there's like a lot of old documents and stuff in here. He had a birth certificate for me, which was like very weird. I want to say this was his mom's mom, but don't quote me on that. But there's like a lot of old pictures in here like this. Like, look at that. It's like like the early 1900s or something. But like by the way she's dressed, which I think is cool. This is, got a bunch of stuff. This was his mom and her husband. So like not his dad, but her husband. Look at the way that they're dressed. I think it's really cool. And then there's other pictures like this. Like, I have no idea who these people are. Like, I don't know, is it family? Are they family members or what? And this is what, you know, I would love to be able to sit down with my siblings and like discuss, because I know that one of them in particular, or some of them, has pictures, or some of them, you know, have this knowledge of who all these people are. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's beautiful. This is actually like, it's a picture of a picture, because you can like see the frame from the outside. Same with this one. And there's nothing like written on the back, so I have no idea, you know, like who this person is. And then this is my dad when he was in the Army. It's Raymond Hull. The picture, of course, is like very, very old. Yeah, I have no idea who that is either. And apparently my grandmother died of breast cancer. My dad's mom, which is this lady right here, and I guess she was buried by March Funeral Homes as well. So this is my grandmother, Eileen Turner, 1925 to 2003. It's amazing. I know he wrote me saying like, oh, you know, I wish you were able to see her before she passed away because she really wanted to see you and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that was my grandmother. In going through some of his like documents and stuff, I found a letter from a sister of his. And then I connected that letter to pictures, and I started like looking, you know, just to see if there was anybody out there who wanted to have a relationship with me. And so that's how I found one of my cousins. The kids and I went back in 2019 to stay with her, and she lives in Maryland as well. So yeah, we're like at least, you know, on speaking terms and whatnot. The year that we went to Maryland to stay with my cousin, on the way back to North Carolina, I decided to like, hey, why not just take a detour and go through Goldvein? And I want to get back down there because it's really pretty, but it's like, for me, I guess as an outsider, it's really like mysterious because it's like way, way out in the country. What is it called? I think it's Fauquier County, Virginia. But the amazing thing is there's like a cemetery that a lot of our relatives are buried at. And if I'm not mistaken, my grandmother is buried there. But there's like a bunch of Hulls that are buried there. And there's even a street called Hull Street, and it's crazy. There's so much family that's back up in there. And apparently my dad had a house back there. At some point, I want to plan a trip back to the area and just, you know, if I have to go and like just knock on some doors, then so be it. Because I feel like there's gotta be somebody that is still living, that knew him, that actually wants to have a decent relationship, you know? Like, who doesn't want that, to like reconnect with, or connect with family, you know? That's my hope anyway, that at some point I can connect with family on my dad's side, at least. At the funeral, there were 10 of us in terms of like my dad's kids that were there. Apparently there's more, like there's talk of there being like 23, 25 plus kids, because my dad was in the military, so he was in Germany. Somebody said he was in Africa, so there's like supposedly some kids over in Africa maybe, so I don't know. So this is a picture that I was referring to where my dad was holding the camera. So that's the camera. This is my dad. That's his mom. I'm not sure who that is. I'm not sure if that's a sibling or what, but yeah. These are like more pictures of my grandmother, on my dad's side. That's her, and that's her husband. There's another one of her. More pictures of her. It's like some older pictures as well. Like, I wish I knew who these people were. That's my dad. We've already seen that. He's got like an award or something. Certificate of Achievement. Presented to Raymond E. Hull. There's like, I don't know, there's pictures of babies in here. Just random pictures. But that's my dad in somebody's dining room, at least. That's him again. There's another one of him. That's actually my mom, which is weird, like, for that to even be in here. But that's my dad. That's my mom when she was much younger. And then he had like these pictures of, this is me when I was a baby. That's my son when he was a baby. That's my son as well. This is me with my brothers on my mom's side. And then these are some other pictures of my dad and I guess friends, maybe. I don't know. Friends or family. That's my dad as a boy. And I guess he drew that little mustache or whatever up there. Some more pictures of my dad. And apparently my dad was a bit of a drinker, because a lot of these pictures he has with him drinking. More pictures of my dad. And then other people, like, I don't know who these people are. It just says Prince Hull, I don't know. And then it has the 32-degree Mason or whatever. Like I said, I'm still kind of like learning about this stuff, because at the time, like, it didn't interest me at all. And I had this suitcase, but I decided not to take it, because I was like, oh, it's just a little, you know, old-fashioned, old-timey suitcase. Nothing was in it. But now I wish I had taken it, because I didn't realize it. Like, you know, that was his suitcase. That was something that he used. But that's my dad with his little suitcase, and then it has written here on the side, Prince Hull, number 41, SW, what is that? Oh, this camera. RE is Raymond Elworth Hull, 32-degree, 1978. So this picture is back in 1978. But if anybody knows, like, what these abbreviations and stuff, like the SW, 32 degrees. I think that's, I don't know, I think it's like the type of Mason he was. I'm not sure. But yeah, just a lot of old pictures of people that, you know, I wish I knew who they were. And if I'm not mistaken, some of these are from like Goldvein. I'm not sure. 1983. This is like before I was even born. And my dad left the military before I was born. I think he left like in the 70s or something. So, and that was like way before I was born. There's a lot of pictures. In many ways, this photo album, I'll go ahead and tell you, but I'm not going to show you all the pictures because some of these pictures are like scantily clad women. You know, so I don't know. I don't know if they're like old girlfriends of his or what. I don't know. But some of them are like that. So yeah, I'll stop there. Y'all, I'm just taking out pictures. This is actually the picture that I grew up with of him. It's this one, and then there's another one. But this was like the main one that I remember having as a kid. The other one is like a black and white picture of him with like, I don't know what you call it, perm, jerry curl, something, but he had like slick down hair. But yeah, that is my dad. I don't know who this is actually. There's another one of my dad. This is the same person, so I don't know, it must have been a friend or something of him, or someone that he maybe served with. I don't know. And then there's like this clipping. Progress catches up with the Vines family right here. He has a lot of obituaries. So Elwood Vines, that's this person right here. But he has a whole lot of like newspaper clippings and obituaries as well. Oh, this is my grandfather. This is Raymond R. Vines. This is my dad's father. Let me see. Trying to get the camera to like focus. Let me put it down. Let me do it that way. But yeah, that is my grandfather. Let's see if I can zoom in anymore. It won't really let me. Yeah, that's about as close as it's gonna get. That's my grandfather, or that was my grandfather. These are like more pictures of me when I was younger. How crazy is it that my dad had this track in his like it was amongst all of his like papers and stuff, like kind of packed together. This is from a Jehovah's Witness, but this is in Baltimore. God knows what year this is, but yeah, this is somebody. Jerry and Josephine Howard Govins congregation. That's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. By all accounts, my dad was very much a ladies' man. Look at this. Let's name her Monica with the dog. I can't. I just can't. But lots of like baby pictures. And this might actually be the house. Apparently there's like a house that he built for himself in Goldvein somewhere. I remember him telling me that the roof, like somebody shot into the roof or something, and like the roof was messed up. And then there's the same pictures again of this couple right here. I don't know, it reminds me of like Downton Abbey, to be honest with you. I love this like dress, like, I don't know, early 1900s, 1920s, something like that. I wish I knew who these people were. I want to find out who these people are. This is like army buddies, like I guess family members and then army buddies or something. That one in particular. I didn't get a chance to read the obituary, and this is the last paragraph right here. What we do know about Daddy is that he served his country proudly. He had a charm with people from all over the world. That must be where I get it from. Some will certainly say he served his time on this earth. As his children, we wish we had the privilege to get that daddy's little kings and queens experience, but the stars had it different. And although it wasn't easy and still isn't, and we cannot change the unremembered moments, we are stronger for it. As his children, we will carry on a legacy of dignity as we emerge as leaders, for nothing we will achieve is inevitable as we take on risks on behalf of our ideals. Our Father gave us life, and for that we honor the best in him and the best in ourselves. Let us pray that his passing from us brings us closer together now. Or not, because it didn't. I have no idea who wrote this. I'm assuming that maybe it was Swanzetta. But yeah, I didn't have any input or anything in that. And I wanted to show this because, you know, I feel like my dad was like just, I don't know, a man of many varied sides, I guess you could say. Because on one hand, like if you go through the little photo album that he had up there, there's like, it's like not only family members and friends, but like I said, it's like these half naked women and baby pictures, and it's just really random. But then you have this right here, the Quran, and it has like stuff on it or whatever. I didn't really care. I know some people are like, when the Quran gets messed up, they will literally trash the whole Quran, but y'all, I was not doing that. But yeah, this was a Quran that he had, and it had, I think on one side, there's somebody's name. Yeah, I don't know who these people are, but apparently this was a birthday gift that he was given back in 1995. It says, "Happy birthday, Raymond," from something. I don't know if that, I don't know what that is. Something, Lamont, and something. I don't know. On a lot of the letters that he had, in addition to like these 800 numbers from, I guess, stuff that he was ordering on from off the TV, there were like scriptures and stuff written down. So I don't know, he's kind of like all over the place, which makes sense. It's kind of comforting because it's like, okay, that's something that we have in common, or we had in common. There are two pictures. So I told you, I'm like on this search to like find out more about my dad's side of the family. There are two pictures of two different women, African women, that were in his photo album. And beside each one, he put wife number one, wife number two. No idea what that means. But it has their name up there. So, I don't know. At some point I would love to try to like track these women down. Anyway, that's the video for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace out.